We're on Daf Kuf Tes Amid Beis. We're up to 8 lines from the top. The Ava B'Mavra. There's another one of the wacky rules that they had in Stein. And I have to tell you, these rules that they have in Stein remind me so much about our kind of the laws that go on to the books that nobody seems to be able to stop, like senseless laws. They said the Ava B'Mavra Nesev Chadzuza, the Lo Ava B'Mavra Nesev Trey. Whoever goes across a road or across a this is usually a ferry. Whoever takes the ferry has to pay one zuz. Who doesn't take the ferry, I mean, if they decide to swim across on their own, have to pay 2 zuzim, which is, very similar to the idea that if you don't take the subway, so then you have to pay congestion pricing, or you have to pay tolls, or you have to pay a gas tax to pay for the subway. There's no escaping paying for everything. The Havale Dara Delivni, whoever creates, there's another very similar type of thing. Whoever creates a row of bricks, everyone could come and take one. He could tell him, I'm just taking one. What's the big deal? In the meantime, 1,000 people come and take one, and what's the harm? It's always against the person who's trying to run a business. To have a shadi tumi a shimchi, someone who is making onions or garlic. Again, everyone could just take one. I'm only taking one. Arba dayane have a b'stein. There were 4 dayanim in Stein. The names were Shakroi, V'Shakruroi, Zaifi, Umatzli Dina. Shakroi and Shakroi are plays on the word of a shakran. They were liars. Zaifi is a counterfeiter, a forger. Umatzli Dina, the ones who corrupt him. The Machile, the Isil Chavre, or Maplele, someone who hits his friend's wife and causes her to miscarry. They would say, okay, you lost the baby, so now give the wife to the person who hit her, and he'll impregnate her again. That I can't say we have a similar halacha. The pasuk le'udna the chamra, someone cut off the ear of his donkey, the chavri of his friend. Give the donkey to the person who did this, and he has to repair the ear. Wait for it to grow back. Let him hold on to the donkey until it grows back. The padale, the chavre, someone who hits his friend. You have to pay him. The person who was hit, the victim, has to pay the perpetrator because he gave you a free bloodletting. You have to pay him the amount you'd have to pay someone to let blood. The Avid it's like a topsy-turvy world where the victim becomes the perpetrator, and the perpetrator becomes the victim. The Avid b'mavra yav arba zuzi, the Avid b'maya yav tamni zuzi. This is similar to the one before. Whoever went on the ferry would have to give 4. If they went on the water, they'd have to give 8. Zimnachada asahu kaivis. A certain person who was a launderer, Diklai lahasa, became to Stein. Mamale havla dal zuzi. You have to pay us the 4 zuzi to go on the ferry. Amalu anabamaya avri. He said, I went on in the water. So he thought on the normal system of laws, he wouldn't have to pay anything. Amale imkain have tamne. Avramaya Avramaya. You have to pay the 8 that a person who goes in the water has to pay. Lo Yov, and he refused to give. Padayu. They hit him. Also Kamedinaina. They came to the judge. Amle Havle Igra the Shakalach Dama Vitamni Zuzi the Avra B'mai. You owe him double. First of all, you owe him the 8 because you went on the water. Secondly, they hit you, and then you have to pay for the bloodletting. You got a free bloodletting. Eliezer Eved Avram Isrami Hasam Eved. Eliezer the Eved of Avram came there. He was a smart fellow. Paju, someone hit him. Also, Kameh the Dina came to the judges. Amalei Havle Agra the Shakalach Dama. They gave him their classic ruling that he has to pay them for. Eliezer had to pay them for letting his blood for free. Shakal Glala Paju. He took a stick and he hit the judges. Paju Iladine, he hit the judges. They said, what are you doing? Said, oh, now you owe me money. Take that money that you owe me and give to this other guy who hit me. Give him my money. And my money will stay by me. Meaning I'll excuse myself from having to pay anything. Havalu Puraisa is the famous bed in Stein. There was a bed. They have a magni Allah archim. They would measure, they would put archim on it. Ki ma'arach gaizile. If the person was too long, they would cut him. Ki kutz matchale. And if he was too long, they would stretch him out. Eliezer Eved Avram, Ikla lahasam. Eliezer arrived in Stein. Amalei kum gani apuria. He said to him, why don't you go rest on this bed? He recognizes the famous Stein bed. Amalahain. Nodri ben Yuma demisis ima. I made a nether when my mother died. Laganina apuria. I'm not going to sleep on a bed. Ki have misrami lahu anya. So he got himself out of it. Ki have a misrami lahu anya. When a ani would come into Stein, yavlu kol chad v'chad dinra. Everyone would give him a dinar. They'd be very generous with giving him money. V'kiv shmaya oleh, and they would write the name on the dinar. V'rifta have a mamtele, but nobody would sell him anything. His money was no good in Stein. They didn't give him any tzedakah, certainly, and they didn't even allow anyone to sell him. If you have a miss, then he would inevitably die from starvation. Everyone would go take the dinner with their name on it. They would recognize their own dinner. This is what they made up amongst themselves. Whoever invites someone to a chasana, I think it means not from themselves, it means from outside, who invited an ani. They're gonna take away his coat. Havi hai hilula, there was a wedding. Ikla Eliezer lahasam. Eliezer came to its time, and Kedar Kam Bakodesh, which I'm speaking sarcastically, they wouldn't feed him. They didn't give him anything to eat. Ki boil and misid, so he got hungry, when it came time to eat. When they started this wedding feast, he sat at the end of the table. They asked him, who invited you? Because they never saw a stranger at a wedding. So everyone was asking Eliezer, who are you? He said to the guy who was sitting next to him, you invited me. And the guy who was sitting next to him, who Eliezer claimed that invited him, said, everyone's going to hear this, and they're going to take away my coat. The guy sitting next to him ran outside, grabbed his coat, and ran outside before anyone could hear anything. And then he just went through the entire wedding hall, claiming every person inviting him, and then they would all run away. Everyone left. He had the whole Suda for himself. Everything was left for him. This is fun stuff, no? Haviyahi Revisa. This is another famous thing in Stein. There was this young girl, the Havakam Mifkas Rifta Anya Bechitzva. She would bring out bread to the Aniyim, hiding it inside of her basket. Iglo Milsa, people found out about it. Shafuya Dufsha, they spread it with honey. Vokmal Eger Shura, they put it on top of the walls of the city. Asazibura Vachlua, and the bees came and stung her to death. That's what it says in the pasuk, that the cries of Steim and Ameru are great, which is Rabbah. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Al Iske Riva. Riva was the word we used for a young girl, so this Rabbah was a reference to this Riva. That's the end of Steim. Meraglim ein lehem chelik l'olam haba. The Meraglim don't have a chelik l'olam haba. Shenema, it was like fun to do Stein because there's nothing to do with us. A bunch of Goyim, and they're all dead, so it was more relaxing. But now we have to go back to more ambivalent things. Meraglim ein lehem chelik l'olam haba. The Meraglim don't have a chelik l'olam haba. Shenema vayivusu hanoshim moitzi dibas haaretz. The people who said the lashon hara about Eretz Yisrael. Ra b'magefa. They said moitzi dibas aretz ra b'magefa vayamusu, and they died. But vayamusu b'olam hazeh, the word when it says first vayamusu anashim, it's b'olam hazeh, and b'magefa at the end is la'olam haba. Adas kairach ein lehem chelik l'olam haba. The group of kairach doesn't have a chelik in l'olam haba. Shenema v'chas aleim aretz. That the earth covered over them, that's a reference to Olam Hazeh, and they were lost from amongst the congregation, that's Olam Haba. Divrei Rekiva, Eliezer Amar Aleim Amar Akasav, Hashem Meimis Mechaya, Meirit Shoel V'Yol. The Torah puts to death and he revives, he puts down into the deep and he brings them up. So he says, Vatachas Aleim Es Haaretz, that's not permanent. It's the Rebbe Shalom will bring them up so that they're not going to be there forever. They're going to be brought up in Lasid Lavan. Tan Rabban, Adas Kairach Ein Lehem Chelik Olam Haba. Another brayso on this topic. Shenema v'tachas lehem haaretz v'olam hazeh v'yavdu b'toich hakol la'olam haba. So it's a difference. It says v'yavdu b'toich hakol. It's not from the misa, but it's from the v'yavdu. Divrei Rebbe Kiva. B'Yehuda b'Meseiroi maharei en kaveda hamizbah keshes. It's like a lost object that you're looking for. Shenema te'isi kaseh oived, that lost like a lost sheep. Bikash avdecha mitzvaysecha lo shechachti, that's sought by his eved. Your eved sought him out because we never forgot your mitzvahs. So this is talking about Knesset Yisrael, but you see that even when someone is lost, they can still be found. They can still be chayzer b'tshuva. So too the Adas Kairach was only called lost, but that was not permanent. They are going to be returning Lasid Lavay. V'yikach Kairach, Amar Ish Lakish, Shalakach Mekach Ra, La'atzmai. He did a bad deal, Kairach. He used his money to try to purchase influence. He was very fantastically wealthy, like I was going to say, and he used it wrongly. He didn't get anything out of it. Kairach, why was he called Kairach? Shenasa Karcha b'Yisrael, because of all the people who were killed. And from Adas Kairach, it left a bald spot, it left an open spot in amongst the Adas Yisrael, Kal Yisrael. Ben Yitzhar, his name was Ben Yitzhar, Ben Chertiach Olav Eskala Oilom Kitzorayim, that he made everyone angry at him like the Tzorayim. The whole Kehillah was angry at Kairach. Ben Kahas, Ben Shahaka Shinav Meilidav. Those who gave birth to him, he set their teeth on edge, right? That he caused, like we say by the Arba Banim, Hake Shinav. It causes the parents to be very upset. He causes parents to grit their teeth from being disappointed. Ben Levi, Ben Shenas Lavaya Begehenim. He was the son that caused the great retinue to go into Gehenim. Kairach and all his Adosai. Why don't we also say Ben Yaakov that he caused them to trip into Gehenim? Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak, Yaakov b'ikash rachma latzma. Yaakov requested that he not be included. I shouldn't be included in their secret conferences. Don't bring me down to be part of their kihila. He has to be excluded from their considerations, and that was a request that he not be counted, they not be referred to when discussing them. So the pasuk continued, right? The pasuk by Yikalu Moshe Alar Vayom Aleim Ravulchem. I'm sorry, that's not the pasuk. Vayikach Kairach ben Yitzhak ben Kas ben Levi, the Dasan Vaviram b'nei Eliyav, Vayim ben Pelis b'nei Ruven. That's the pasuk that we're going off. So we're continuing. We explained of the provenance of Kairach. Now we're going to say about Dasan Vaviram that were next mentioned. Dasan she'avar al das Al Das. Dasim was called that because he was over on Das, on the foundations of Yiddishkeit. Al Das Kel, on the Rebbeinu Shalom's Hashkaf. Aviram she'ived atzmai me'asos tshuva. Aviram was called that because he stopped himself, he strengthened himself from doing tshuva. V'oin sheyasha ba'aninas. Oin what did tshuva. So Oin sat in mourning for what he had done. We're going to talk. The Gemara is going to talk about how he did tshuva. Peles shenasuloi pilois. He was the son of Peles, but that's a mashmois that miracles were done. It was a great miracle that he was able to be saved from Kairach. Ben Ru'uvein, Ben Sheroah Vehaven. He was, Oin was the one who saw and understood the evil of Kairach. Amarav, Oin ben Peles Ishtai Hatzilasei. Rav says, Oin ben Peles' wife saved him. Amalei, my nafkalach mina, Imar Rabba Ant Talmida, Imar Rabba Ant Talmida. Whether Moshe is in charge, you're going to still be a Talmud. Or if Kairach is going to be the charge, you're going to still be a Talmud. So what are you getting involved in this? Amala Maya Avid. He said, but what am I supposed to do? I was involved with them, and I swore to support them. Amala Yadana de Kulu Knishta Kadishta Ninu. I know that they're all very heilige people. They're all Kulam Kadoshim. The Adas Kairach, in spite of their terrible oven, they were essentially God-fearing Jews. The Chsivki Kala Eda Kula Kadoshim. So what did she do? Amalei Tov the Ana Matzil Tov the Ana Matzil Nulach. She said to him, "You stay here in the tent, and I'm going to save you." Ashkisa Chamra. She gave him a lot of wine and got him drunk, and he fell asleep, so he couldn't join with them. Va'arvise, and that caused him to become shikar and fall asleep. Va'agnise gavoy, and she put him to sleep inside the tent where no one could see him. Oisval Baba, she stood on the entrance to the tent. V'saturasa lamazia, and she opened up her hair. She put her hair out. Called the asa chazia hadar. And then the Unutzia would turn around. Whenever the people from Kairach were going to get their co-conspirator, they would find her at the doorway. And since they were holy Jews, they saw a woman with her hair uncovered, they turned around. And before that happened, and then before he could wake up and they could get him, they all got swallowed up and he wasn't amongst them. This is the Kairach. In contrast, the wife of Kairach was exactly the opposite. Amalei, Chazi Maikav and Moshe, she was the one prodding him from behind. She said, "Look what Moshe is doing. You have a Malka. He became the king. La'achva Shavi Kanaraba. He made his brother Aaron the Kohen Gadol. Nemeach Shavinu Sagni the Kahana, and his nephews he made the Skan Kohenim. He asked you Truma Amat to heavy Kohen. When Truma comes, he said it should go to the Kohen. He also Meiser Shaklisu Atoin. When you get your Meiser, which goes to Levium, he says, give 1/10 of that even to the Kohen. So that's, first of all, he's taking for himself an unfair portion for the Kehanim. The guy is lemizaychu. When the Levium were mechonach, when they were inaugurated at the Levium, they cut off all their hair. Umitla lechu ki kufsa. And he made you look like trash. He doesn't want you to look good. He wants to lord it over you. Amallah, you nami kavod. She says this poor Kairach said to his wife, but Moshe Rabbeinu had his own hair cut off. Amalek, even the cooler Ravusa today, since he's going to get all the malchus, Amayunami Tumais Nafshi and Plishtim. He said, it's okay, it's worth it for me to have to endure this because I'm going to end up being the king over everyone. But you're getting nothing out of it. The Ka'amalachu Aviditu Tachalta. He had another taina. He said you should make tcheles, you should make tzitzis out of tcheles on the corner of your begadim. Mitzvah. If he thinks that tchelas is a mitzvah, why doesn't he take to make the whole beged out of tchelas and use that for them to wear? Why are people just putting why are they just putting tchelas on the corner? The whole thing should be made out of tchelas. Hainu dichsev chachmas nashim bonsa besa zu ishtish al ein ben palace. The chachma of a wife can build a house. That's ein ben palaces who saved him from being swallowed up. The ivlas biyada tarasena. And if she's a fool, she's going to destroy the house. Her hand will destroy the house. Zu ishtish shel Kairach, that's the wife of Kairach. So to continue with the story of Kairach, vayikumu fnei Moshe. They got up in front of Moshe. The chosen of the Bnei Yisrael to yoidim la'aver shanim. Kriya Mayid. What does that mean? Yoidim la'aver shanim. L'kvaya chadashim. They knew how to do the calculations of the calendar. Anshe Shem. They were called Anshe Shem. Shahilem Shem b'chol oilam. Everyone knew about them. And they were the ones who came to complain to Moshe. Yishma Moshe. Moshe heard this, Vayipal Apanov. He fell on his face. Mash Shmuah Shama. What did he hear? Amr Shmuah bar Nachmani, Amr Rabbi Yonasan, Shechashdu me'eshes ish. He heard that he was chashed on eshes ish. Shenemar, Vayikanu leMoshe b'machna. That it says that the Pashto Pshat is that they were jealous of Moshe in the machna. Amr Shmuah Nagitzim Malamet Shekol Echad V'Echad Kanas Ishtemi Moshe. They all told their wives, you're not allowed to be saisa with Moshe. They did a kinoi that you do for a saita. They made it as if Moshe was suspected of being bond their wives, of being Isaac with their wives. Moshe took his tent out of the machna in order to avoid these suspicions that were aroused by people being makana their wives to him. Vayakam Moshe vayelech al Dasan v'Aviram. Moshe went to Dasan v'Aviram. Amar Shlachim kanche machzikim machloikas. From here you see that you don't reinforce the machloikas. The Amar Rav kol hamachzik machloikas over belav. Whoever reinforces machloikas is over belav. Shenem avaliyeh kairach kadasei. You shouldn't be like kairach v'adasei. Rather, should be like Moshe. Moshe went and approached. He made the first step and went to Dasan v'Aviram. Whereas kairach v'adasei, they hardened themselves. They made shvuas. They made it that they couldn't back out. Ravashi Amar Royal Litzdara. Ravashi says that they were roy to get tzaras. Someone who keeps going in the machlokes. It says over here, to him. When Moshe was by the sneh, the Moshe said to him also such a lashon, Hashem lied to him, put your hand in your pocket, and it came out with tzaras. So that's a mashmois that those who were arguing with Moshe were roy to get tzaras. But they never got tzaras because they got killed. Whoever argues with the Malchus Beit David is roy to get bitten by a snake. Adoniyo was the other son of David who wanted to be married and take his place instead of Shlomo. He shechted sayin ubakar, sheep and cattle, Maria and fattened cattle. Im even hazechelas. By this even hazechelas. Siv hasam im chamas zoichalei afa. With the what do you call it? With the chamas, with the poison of those who slither in the dirt. It's a reference to the poison of a snake. So Adoniyo, since he was rebelling against Malchus Beit David, he also was called. He went to the Evan Hazechalas, which is a reference to a snake. He deserves to get bitten by a snake. Amar of Chizda, Kol ha'cholek al Rabbi k'cholek al hashchina. Whoever argues on his Rabbi is like being cholek on the Shechina. Shnema b'hatzoisem el Hashem. Says about Adas Kairach Ubnei Eliyav Nemuel v'dasam v'virim who dasam v'virim kriya edasher hitzu al Moshe v'al Aaron ba'az karech b'hatzoisam al Hashem. When they argued on Hashem, so even though they couched their disagreement as being against Moshe and Aaron, it was counted as if they were arguing on Hashem. Amar Rav Chana bar Rav Chanina kol ha'osem meriva im rabbi. Whoever makes a fight with his rabbi, ka'osem shechina, as if he's fighting with the shechina shenema, hema mei meriva asher rabu b'nei Yisrael es Hashem. It's the Mei Meriva where they came to complain. They went to fight with Moshe, and it's counted in the pasuk as if that they were fighting with Hashem. Amar Chanin bar Papa, kol misraam al Rabbi. Whoever complains about his Rabbi, kila misraam al Shechina. It's as if he's complaining on the Shechina. Shnema lo yaleinu tunaschem ki'im al Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Yidden when they were complaining about the situation in the Midbar, he said, "Your complaint is not with me. Your complaint is to Hashem." Amr Bavo, Kolomis Hamahar Acha Rabbi. Whoever questions his Rabbi, Kila Mahar Acha Shechina. It's as if he's questioning the Shechina. Shnema Vaydaba Ha'ambele Kimba Moshe. The nation again when they were complaining in the Midbar at the end when they were saying that it's too hard, so they were complaining on Hashem as well as Moshe. The next pasuk we have to see the pasuk starts. The next pasuk that the Gemara is going to go on to. Yesh roch choyle roisi tachatz hashemesh. David HaMelech says, Shlomo HaMelech says, I've seen a evil sickness underneath the sun. Oisha shamal lebalav l'rasei. That's the pasuk what the Gemara says. Oisha shamal lebalav l'rasei. That a rich man watches his wealth and it ends up hurting him. It's bad for him. Amar Shlakish zeh oisha shel karach. There's a reference to the wealth of Korach. That's Kol HaYakom Asher B'Ragleim, and all of that was existing under his feet. This is the money of the person. When it says Kol HaYakom Asher B'Ragleim, that's a reference to a person's wealth. Shamide al Raglav, that the person's wealth is what puts him on his feet. V'Amar of Levi, Masei Gimel Meis Pradois Levanos. It was the burden of 300 white donkeys. Hayu B'Vtacha Shel Beis Gnazav Shel Korach was the keys to the treasure houses of Korach. V'Kulu Aklidei V'Kilfi Deglida, and they were all made out of leather. They weren't made out of metal. They were even lighter than a normal key, and even so, it took so many to carry it. Amr Chamba Bar Chanina. Gimel Matmonius Hitman Yosef Mitzrayim. Yosef amassed all the wealth of the world when he was the helping out Pare, and he made 3 treasure houses there. Achas Nizgal LeKarach, 1 Karach took. Achas Nizgal LeAntoninus ben Asurius. So this was Antoninus, who was the Rebbe's friend. Achas Gnuza LeTzadikim Lasid Lavai, and 1 was left. The tzaddikim lasted lavei. There were at least 2 different groups. There were actually 3 different groups that died in Adas Karach. There was the group that got swallowed up. Then there was the pasuk says there was a group that got burnt, and there was additionally after the following day there were Yidden who complained and they had a magefa. So he says Karach was not from those who died, from those who were swallowed up, and he was not from those that were burnt. It says all the people who were to Korach. What's the pasuk? It says all the people that were to Korach, but not Korach himself. Neither was from those that were burnt. It says those 250 men, but Korach was not included. So that's one shot. Masnisa Tana Korach min Asrufin umin habalum. They say Korach was included in both groups. He was both swallowed up and burnt. Min habalum dichsev ativla oisam v'es Korach. It says ativla oisam, and oisam includes oisam, not just them, but Korach as well. And Asrufin dichsev beish yatsa me'es Hashem v'teichel es chamishim masayim ish. The Korach ba'adayu, and Korach was not excluded from it. Amarava mai dichsev shemesh yarach. The Shemesh signs Amad Zavula. It stands in the Zavula. with the from its light goes out with the arrows. That's what called it goes. They went up to the level of Zvul. Zvul is one of the rakias that the Shemesh and Yerech are not normally in. They defended Moshe Rabbeinu. They said, "Look what Kairach is doing. We don't want to go out and provide light for the earth until you give vengeance to Moshe Rabbeinu." Until the Rebbe Shalom threw arrows at them. He said, he said, why are you all of a sudden making a fuss now when you didn't make a fuss when my covet was impugned? And the Gemara says, and until this time, they don't go out because Lamaisa, since the Rebbe Shalom, they accepted the Teichacha, and they said the Yidden have done so much to impugn the covet of the Rebbeinu Shalom, so therefore they refuse to go out until the Rebbeinu Shalom sends his arrows to force them. Darash Rabba, Maidich Siv, V'imbriya Yivra Hashem Mapatza Adam as Pia. The Rebbeinu Shalom made a creation, and the earth swallowed up the Bnei Kairach. Amma Moshe L'nei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In Brias Gehenim Mutav, V'im Lav Yivra Hashem. Moshe said to the Rebbeinu Shalom, what it's lashon of Bria Yivra. What is this Bria that he's saying that you need to make? So he said to him, the Rebbeinu Shalom, if you created a Gehenim, then that's where they should go. But if not, you have to create it specially for them. If he meant to say that the Rebbeinu Shalom has to create the Gehenim, certainly the Gehenim was created in Sheva Yimei Bereishis. What did Moshe have to say to create it? What he meant to say is he wants you to take the Gehenim and put it right by the entrance, and that the Adas Karach should be swallowed up. The pasuk says, "Ubnei Karach lemei," so the sons of Karach did not die. Tana Mishum Rabbeinu, Amru. They said Mishum Rabbeinu, Makam Nizvatzel Hem Gehenim. There was a special place in Gehenim, a special place outside of Gehenim. V'yashvulav, and they sat there. Amru Shira. They said Shira for the Rebbeinu Shalom. They were saved from Gehenim, and they lived. They survived. Amar Rabba Bar Bachana Zimna Chada Havaka Izil Kazilna Borcha was going on. Amalehu Taya. This merchant said to me, Tav Achvilach Beloy the Karach. Let me show you those who were swallowed up with Karach. Azul hu Trey Bazoy the Havaka Nafik Kitra Minai. He brought me to two cracks in the earth that smoke was coming out of it. Shakal Gavava the Amra. He took a bundle of wool. Amshemaya. He soaked it in water so it shouldn't burn. Put it on the head of a spear, and he put it over the cracks, and it got burnt. So you see that fire, that was the place where the fire of Gehenim was brought by Moshe Rabbeinu, said to bring it over there, was coming out of the crack. Amalei, atas mashamata. Listen carefully. It's coming out of the crack, the words that Moshe is emes, and hein, meaning we ourselves are badoyim. Everyone, it's not clear it's talking about the Bnei Kairach or it's talking about the actual Adas Kairach. To me, it makes more sense talking about the Adas Kairach, that they get roasted every 30 days. And when their turn comes near the whole time they're saying Moshe is emes, v'Torah emes, and we are wrong. Okay, we'll stop over here. Hashem will continue tomorrow from here.
Thank you. Feel better.
Yeah, I really had hoped to learn tonight, but I don't think it's going to be possible.
I feel better.
Okay, take care.